Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2Have 2Role podcast. My name is Oliver. On this show, Robin and myself are going to be speaking about LARP and Empire LARP with our guest, Anthony. Anthony is a LARPer and a player in the Empire LARP system here in the UK. If you have been a player in the Empire LARP system for the past few years, you may have known his most recent character, the Mithril Man. At the most recent Empire event, unfortunately, the Mithril Man met his demise. The death of the Mithril Man inspired many memes. It also inspired some artwork, some songs. One such song was written by our friend Sue, which we will link down in the description. But we talked to Anthony about what it was like playing such an iconic character. We talk about training. We talk about some of Anthony's other characters that he has played in the Empire LARP system. We do touch on some real good tips for people looking to get into the trading game, into the Bourse game. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure that you give us a thumbs up. Click that subscribe so you know when a new episode is posted. If you are listening on your favorite audio platform, consider following and leaving us a nice review. And with all that out of the way, let's get into our conversation with Anthony. Hello, everybody. We have Anthony here with us, aka. In fact, I was going to say AKA. I'm assuming you're okay with the name, the Mithril Man.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just occurred to me that I was just about to say AKA the Mithril Man. I'm like, oh, what if Anthony absolutely hates that name?
No. I sort of became a thing, and I sort of went, well, I can go two ways with this. I can either fight it and go and be a bit of a downer, but actually, I'll take the Mithril Man. You know?
So what was the character's name? Because everyone just knows you as the Mithril Man.
The character was Adon E. Martan.
And were they with what nation? I don't even know. That's the thing. I don't even know what nation were you in?
Tell us all about them.
Adon was he was in the Brass Coast. He was a Demiro, which is sort of the group leader concept, but it's more of a representative. You're not in charge. You're sort of last person to leave the room when negotiations start. So I started out as a fairly small end merchant. I came in from a previous character that I wasn't having a lot of fun with, and went, I've been in the Brass Coast before, I'll give it a go. And then so essentially just started growing, and did quite a lot of trading, and got up to the heights the Mithril Man got up to.
So how long did you play the Mithril Man for?
This was my 9th event as Adon.
Wow. Yeah. So for people that tune in that didn't know what happened at the last event, the Mithril Man is no more, right?
Indeed.
And we can't talk about because it's still active game. We can't talk about exactly what happened and what is going to happen.
So the boilerplate text I can give out is I can't comment on anything that's happened I see, except to say I will be starting a new character at E1. And obviously that is, I think it's fairly out there that he's dead. I don't think anyone's disputing that he's been killed. No. But yeah, I can't do a who was it or what did they look like or anything like that. But I'm absolutely happy to chat sort of in general about what went on.
Yeah, because I mean he was that much of a legendary character. So at the end of this event. We had apparently decided that right at the end, the news was going round that a throne had been elected, and it was a little bit like I think it's because we've been waiting so long as well. But there was people shouting, "We have a throne! We have a throne!" Someone came up to Dawn, went, "Dawn, we have a throne." And we were like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then, not like 10 minutes later, this big mob comes like from one end of Dawn.
So I was at the start of this.
Were you at the start?
Before it was a mob, okay?
You didn't start.
Someone came up to me and they were like, "Have you heard the news?" I was like, "Yeah, we have a throne. Then we didn't have a throne. Then we might have a throne." Cool. Like, no, the Mithril Man is dead. And then Gaston in Dawn heard this. He went, "Who did it?" And someone went, "Navarre." So we marched to Navarre. We basically did this march around all the nations until there was a mob at the Brass Coast, like a full mob of people shouting and screaming and chanting. And
Yeah,
then that's when you joined us.
so I think Tiggs was the one who started the group of concerned citizens.
Yeah.
But no, I heard sort of the shouts at the trial and things, and I thought, that's in that direction. A military council have just decided something big and important, and
Yeah.
then I started to hear the chants of the Mithril Man, and went, "Oh shit, that's for me."
Yeah. Where were you at this point then? So were you able to be like out of character, or were you just a body for?
So my body had been taken. So once it had happened, and your timers go down, you can no longer be speak with dead and things. The ref essentially goes, right, I'm going to leave you now. You can play a body for as long as you like, or you can. It's all they all read it off. They can all get it off their tablet. A lot of them have got it memorized.
Yeah.
And you can go to God and start a new character if you like. And then we looked at the time and went, actually, there's only 30 minutes left in the event. But no, so my body got my Adon's partner was notified, and they sort of came and got the body, and then a group that Adon had worked with sort of brought the body back, and I was lying in just outside my tent in the Bourse coast under the awning, just watching the world go by, having sort of people from the coast, my political rivals, etc., come by and tell my body how much they hated me. But it's Bourse coast, like we're honest to a fault.
Yep.
And it was, I didn't like you, but you did a lot of work. It's
a quite a contrast to our story in Dawn, right? It's just completely the other way.
Oh dear. So you essentially were a body as people came to talk. So when you heard all the chants and everything, is that where you kind of were? Were you still being like a body at that point, or were you?
So I stayed in as a body until end of event. There was only an hour of it. Bluntly, I could have done with a lie down. But my heart was going. Obviously, I was going through all that sort of first shock of sort of grief and surprise and things. And so I actually having a lie down, having some nice chill. People come over, role play at me more than with me. That was sort of really what I needed. And it was nice to hear, all the people I'd got on with and annoyed and done deals with, sort of a nice sort of lull to the end of the character.
Yeah. So because you wouldn't have actually just seen or heard the trial, because we were at the trial.
Yeah. So I didn't see it at all. Didn't even see the mob as it was going past. I heard the cheer at the sentence and the cheer at the execution.
That's pretty cool.
That
was the only context I've got.
that was pretty cool.
Well, while we were all standing there, basically everybody's like shouting like Mithril Man, Mithril Man. They're like chanting it, and then everybody was told to shush. So everybody just started going, Mithril Man, Mithril Man. And it was going on. It was incredible. Like your death was incredible.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing about death, isn't it? Like it gives people so much game, even though it can really suck. It gives people a lot of game.
So I had someone in one of my former groups sort of reach out and say, sorry you lost him, but your characters never go quietly, do they? So I was the gatekeeper of vigilance as my first character, despite being dedicated to justice for several years, and no one checked. And so
someone wasn't vigilant.
Exactly, and I'm stood there, sort of in the day it was sort of seen as the sort of second in command of the vigilance assembly, and I'm this, I'm treating with a whisper gallery, I'm doing all these dodgy foreign deals, and eventually it just comes to my trial, and they do me for treason, impersonation of an imperial official, they really throw the book at me, and then I go in, I have a priest who's a mate of mine, they gave a really great virtue defense, and the magistrate went, well, yeah, all right, 25 thrown, fine. And I'm stood there going, no, I'm planning to retire this character. Come on, let's do something here. And I so essentially go as a justice cultist. Go, no, that's not what justice is. No, we're not having that. And I've got an enchantment of with 5 seconds roleplay, you may choose to die. So it's in the middle of the trial. I just go, no, I think not, and die. Middle of the hub.
Oh my god.
that is a weird. Was that your first Empire character?
That was my first. It was my first Empire character. I had him for a couple of years doing.
Wow.
So I came in sort of very sort of have a drink, go off to battle, sort of immerse myself in the world, and I gradually got pulled into the priest game, and then found I quite liked it. Started getting a bit bored with him, and then started to do the riskier things.
Yeah.
So how long ago was this? Like, when did you start playing Empire?
So I've been with Empire nearly since the beginning.
Wow.
So I wasn't on the playtest or anything like that, but
Mhm.
I've been doing it. Well, I came down with my university mates sort of probably 10 years ago now. Yeah. But didn't really sort of get involved, as it were. I wasn't a very good role player back then, bluntly. I didn't have the confidence to go out and throw myself into the world. Um, until eventually I got dragged into the priest game by some people who didn't really know at the time, but are now really good friends. And yeah, I've sort of taken it up from there and moved on to other things.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it sounded like that was sort of planned, your first character death, but was it?
um, I definitely started going off the rails.
Hmm.
I definitely started going, this character's getting a bit boring.
Hmm.
Let's do something exciting, and if that kills me, so be it.
Hmm.
That was I'm looking to get more out of this character, because if I stay as I am, I'm just going to get bored and fall. And I'd rather have an ending with some meaning that I like than just go, well, I'm done with the character now. Let's go.
Yeah. Was there a contrast between that character going and the Mithril Man going? Because I know for us the things that usually stick were like stung for us for our characters was just like things undone, basically things we hadn't got to do or things we were part the way through, you know.
Yes and no. So obviously, there was a lot. Adon had a lot on his plate. The Mithril Empire was funding other plots. It was involved in. I quite often had people go, "We've got this really exciting thing that we want to do that's going to get us this amazing item at the end of it, but it's going to cost like 40 mana and we haven't got anything." And I'd essentially go at that point because Adon sort of didn't do charity. He was very prosperity is the thing you earn for yourself.
Yeah.
So it was always okay. So let's form a company here.
Mhm.
I'll put up the money. You'll do the legwork. Whatever comes out at the end, we'll split. So
Okay.
there's a few of those companies dotted around the field that are still that have got a few less shares to pay out now.
Yeah.
Um, but but those plots are still going to happen, and a lot of them are still with my mates. Like the main one I've got is with my partner and some old friends, so they've still got that plot. They've still got. I mean, Don's partner Damian wasn't poor either by any imagination. So they're still going to have fun with it. That plot's still going to happen,
Hmm.
and I get to move on to other things and then go into other shenanigans.
Yeah. Do you think you'll shift gears quite a bit, or do you think you
Yeah.
quite like the trait? Yeah, you're gonna just.
Yeah, if I never see a 5 thrown coin with my next character, I'll be happy. I seriously debated going into a Dornish noble just so I couldn't deal with money, even if I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's great. It's
I've been,
great.
Great.
yeah,
It's great. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit frustrating when you're like, I need this thing, but.
but so I've got a group of mates in League playing some sort of up and coming scrappy group that's
Mhm.
miles and away reserved from the political priests and mithril traders that I've played before. So
Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting sort of bit to find my range with.
yeah.
So Mr. Man, obviously your most recent character. So have you had the two characters in
So I've
Empire,
had
or is there one in the middle?
so I'm going into my point 5.
Go for
Um,
it.
so I'm going into my 5th character. So
What?
I had Arn, who was that political priest we talked about earlier. I had another freeborn called Armand, who got made a sorcerer after he was already dead. Um,
Okay.
so we're part of a group of Hakama, sort of the magical sages of the
Mhm.
Brass Coast, who sort of mediate disputes and
Mhm.
things. And we'd gone out to battle, and like 3/5 of the group were dead.
Mhm.
And we were all looking around it. This is a really big group concept. We're not going to have the same fun. Well, I said to myself, I'm not going to have the same fun. Um, per playing him anyway. So I went, okay, what could I do to actually get some game out of this and to wrap the character up? And I went, well, actually, I've got a lot of winter magic, and like I can solo the territory curses, and like Urizen was in charge of that battle.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I may have cursed all mana sites at Urizen.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Which didn't make me many friends. So the surviving member of my coven went out and put a declaration of sorcery in against me for misusing magic. The next event, we had some really tense role play of, you know, the reasons I did it, the reasons they thought it was a bad idea, and that sort of loyalty of our dead friends and things like that. And it was, you know, really interesting. It was going to go into the 8 o'clock conclave session. It was like the second item on the agenda, because back in the day, you know, the items were done by the order they were submitted. And I died in the 7:30 skirmish.
Hey, it happens.
Yeah, not deliberately in the slightest.
No.
But yeah, I was caught a paralyzed mid unstoppable during the retreat.
Paralyzed.
Yeah. And then the monster sort of came up to me afterwards and goes sort of what, and the monster didn't realize that paralyzed stops unstoppable, and they didn't realize that was going to kill me. So yeah, that was tense.
Yeah. I've spoken to a few people who've lost their characters on just they're literally about to do something that night, like, oh, I'm just gonna nip out to the skirmish, and then
Oh, it was exactly that. So I'd just been paid to go out because he had a side business in just cursing people.
Yeah.
So if you wanted someone cursed, I could do most of the curses solo.
That's pretty cool.
I really would have loved to have met him.
I know.
He was really high lineage draw gear, really freeborn, really so that you mentioned there's someone you don't like and he's right there going, which curse would you like?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to know him.
But yeah, so I'd gone out and I'd done a cursing on a Dawlish. I think it was one of the tall stacks. And he took it really well, took it like an absolute champ. You know, really cheerful, really chipper about it, and go, well, I understand you're just being paid. And then he just went, well, we've got a few slots on this skirmish. Do you want to join us? Never just go on a skirmish.
No.
Know who you're fighting. No, I didn't know where Armand died.
You didn't. It's
yeah. He's in a field somewhere.
Yeah.
I know it was Druge, but I didn't know that before I walked through the gate.
Yeah, no. If I go on a skirmish, I think there would have been a time if I got into Empire maybe a bit earlier and I was a little bit more fit and I was like, yeah, I could be like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna do loads of skirmishes and just go on all of them and just be that character. I probably would have then, but now if I go on a skirmish, like I want to know like exactly where we're going. It baffles me sometimes when I'm on the skirmish with people and people just like it's halfway through the skirmish like, what are we supposed to be doing? Like just like what are you here?
So I think a large part of it as well, you know, losing an 8 XP character, obviously you've got all the emotional investment, but mechanically, and then let's be honest, LARPers have a thing for mechanically. Losing an 8 XP character isn't really losing anything. You know, whereas if you go out and you've been at Empire for 10 years, you've got an 18 XP character.
Yeah.
Or a 20 XP character, or you know, there are I'm sure mages and Urizen who have got lore 6 and do not leave their camp.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally understandable as well. Like it really is. Like I think because we Robin, luckily we didn't actually spend because we got an experience like after that event that we died. So luckily, because I would have just spent it. But yeah, I think we lost like 4 experience points. But even that that hurt a little bit. You're just like no.
Yeah. So Adon was 8 XP. Because he didn't need skills, he didn't go out and fight, he didn't really cast magic. I think I had some ritual lore when he died. But that was, and you know, if I'd have been thinking about it, you know, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I'd have had some unstoppables, I'd have had something, and I might have ended differently. But
you tell you what, we I don't know if you've done it with your most recent character, but yeah, like we went through the whole process of just like it's like it's a grieving process, right? And you go through that, and you're just like, oh, if I'd done this, if I'd taken that potion before I ran out there, or if I'd given a potion to someone else, and then I had used this ability instead of this ability, maybe.
Yeah. So absolutely that. So Adon had a hired bodyguard the whole event. And obviously it just started raining, and the bodyguard who's very, very, very close to went, oh damn, I've left some stuff outside my tent. do you mind if I clock off a bit early and go and put it in?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And obviously, there's no way you say no to that. There was absolutely no circumstance you go, no.
Yeah.
But I'm sat back and going, well, if I'd have just gone with him.
Yeah.
But, I like you say, there's, you can get a certain amount of solace from looking back and going, well, actually, human error is human error. It's going to happen, but you can't dwell on it. You've got to move forward.
Yeah. Also, like what an amazing name the company chose for itself, Profound Decisions, because it's just like, damn, that keeps coming back, because it's just like, you do.
It really does. It's like the sort of grieving thing as well. I always thought it's meant to be like 5 stages, and I just in my head I was like, well, I assume they come one after the other, right? No, like I didn't expect having a character death to make me feel all of those things at the same time, and just like waking up in the middle of the night and just being like, I'm so angry at this now. It's just it's crazy.
So I have to say this is definitely the easiest sort of big character death grieving I've ever done. The response from the community, the memes, the songs.
The memes, the
artwork.
I have never before seen the Empire mod team have to go. Can we put the memes in, please?
It's the fact that they put the number of memes in, like
21. Oh, and there are more. As soon as that stopped, I just started being sent memes.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, I bet. What was their excuse? They were like, oh yeah, we want to, because we're losing. We can't find when people are actually asking for help because there's so many Mithril Man.
But no, there's at least 2 people who have written a song. There's one of my mates is going to be selling Princess Diana style mugs for Adon the Mithril Man Martin.
I want one.
Yeah, there's some postcards going around.
Yeah.
On the Saturday night, so there was the Freeborn Festival of the Broken Wheel, sort of a bit like a Fool's Day sort of thing. And myself and my partner were going around selling mains of Withmill. So it's a completely fake thing. Like it was a bit of paper with hallowed, so it had an aura on. So the whole point of sort of Broken Wheel is it teaches you a virtue.
Okay.
So anyone who buys a wain of Mythmill deserves to learn a lesson.
Okay.
And it was great fun. People really bought it. We weren't being like con artists or anything. We were selling them for like 4 or 5 rings. They were obviously not Bourse nuts.
Yeah.
And a number of new players. We also just took the Broken Wheel clothes off and went, this is what Broken Wheel is. Don't trust a freeborn wearing white tonight. And then a lot of them bought them anyway.
Yeah.
But yes, but there's a number of people who've got those. I think 8 of them went out, and obviously those were some of the last things that Mithril Man sold.
Yeah.
So there's people going, well, this is collectible now.
It's collectible.
It is.
I
signed as much as Mithril now.
Well. So I signed a couple of autographs because apparently I have a fan base. That surprised me. Like I knew people were making jokes and things, but I genuinely wasn't expecting to hit the field and go, hey, can you sign this for me? So I think the Lee group, the Serotonin Circus, or the ones, the really cool ones in all black leather trousers, very kickabayo, very really, really good committed role players, just ran up to me like several times over the event. We love you, Mithril Man, and I'm going, what do I do? But yes, I ended up signing a fan for them, so I'm sure that's going to be on an auction house at some point soon.
Yeah.
And don't know, people have been really good. They've been really respectful, and they're reaching out and just going, hey, sorry you've lost the Mithril Man. Some of them even know his name.
Yeah.
We're planning to do this. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Is your character? Do you mind if we make some postcards?
That's really cool.
Yeah. And absolutely. I've not said no yet. Obviously, some of the stuff is more icy. Like I've had some people ask, well, do you mind if we sort of cast whispers through the Black Gate so we can have like one last conversation? And I've sort of gone, well, that's an icy question. OC. The Fizz rep might be available. It'll depend on sort of my next character, what I'm up to. If you want someone to talk to icy about that, Adon had a partner.
Yeah.
Might be worth talking to them. But obviously, sort of trying to toe that line between me going, well, no, absolutely not only my partner gets to do that, which isn't something I can do, it isn't something I'd want to do, but also for people who genuinely do just want it to be that last celebration, that last bit of content from the Mithril Man, if you will. Sort of not deny that opportunity by one group doing it on their own and not letting anyone else know.
Yeah, it's an odd thing, isn't it? Because you're not. It's like LARP's bizarre because you can literally like be there for your own funeral, and it's weird to have lots of people like going, oh, we're organising this for the characters, that for the characters, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So obviously I played in the Bourse quite a lot, and at the Bourse auction, the player of Marta, one of the civil servants, has said they're gonna aim to hold a moment's silence for Adon before the auction starts, which is a wonderful gesture. You know, all his colleagues, all his economic rivals, all sat in a room, and I'm just going, I'd love to be there, but I can't be there. I can't go to my own character's moment of silence. So I've chatted with one of the photographers who's going to go down and get some snaps of it for me. And obviously my partner's going to be there, and they can tell me all about it. But yeah, so it's also sort of a proper end to the character, because Adon, when he died, had a Bourse seat. And what happens when you die with a Bourse seat is it's auctioned off, and then your next of kin, whoever's in your will, gets sort of a share of what you paid for it. So I had one season left, so they're going to get 40 thrones, and if it doesn't raise that, there's a whole process of how that money gets put together. But that's not until Saturday afternoon. So Adon, at the very least mechanically, is still going to be having an impact on the field until mid-Saturday.
Yeah. So how did you get into that game? Did you when you made it on? Did you go, right? Okay, that's the game I want to chase, the Bourse game, or did you just fall into it?
So I made Adon. So my third character hasn't really been mentioned. I had essentially left the group because I had a bit of a falling out with one of the other people in it, and it's
happens.
Obviously, we're past it now. We chat, we're civil, but I was playing a political advisor to someone who struggled to take advice, and we were both at fault there. So I literally just went, okay, what have I got kit for? And I had a previous freeboard, so I went, okay, I've got some kit in my car. And I went, okay, what vaguely, what can I do without, making arrangements, without jumping into anyone in the field? And I just went, okay, well, I'll go in, I'll have a business, I'll have some money, try and make some money. I've sort of did that on the side as my Wintermark character, but I never made a proper go of it. And I was trading obviously the things everyone trades, artisan resources, mana, things like that. And I quite quickly got to the point of going, well, actually, A, I'm enjoying this. B, I'm actually making quite a lot of money. So I came into that character on Saturday morning. By like Sunday 2:00, I bought my first Wain of Mithril.
What?
Yes.
You can do that? What?
Yes.
What did you? Hang on, what
are we doing wrong?
What did you start? Did someone give you a little jump start, or did you?
No,
just...
so I started with 1 throne, 1 crown, and 18 rings. Yeah.
That is so
incredible.
That's so cool that you can actually do that in the game, because that's what I like about the trading game in Empire. It doesn't, like, you can like Robin's dad came to Empire for the first time this event. He didn't spend any I think he gambled a couple of his rings, but that was it. We had a whole weekend with pretty much no in character money or resources, and had a whale of a time. Like, you don't need to have the resource and money, do you? But if you want to.
And those kind of tie together. So because there are so many characters who don't really have a use for the resource, who have got a military unit, it made them 12 gloaming. What do I do with this? I can't drink it. You go, well, actually, I can give you quite a lot of drinking money for your 12 iridescent gloaming. And I think Adon's thing was always, he was never the best price in the field, and I absolutely never pretended to be, but he was always convenient.
Yes.
He was always, you could tread the field and get 2 crowns more for your 1 Wain of Mithril.
Yeah. And
you'll spend about half an hour trying to find someone who'll give you 5 thrones for it. Or I've got 4 and 6 right here. And they were selling convenience, and that's all I was doing.
Yeah.
And I think people look at the trading game and see it as being quite big and quite intimidating, but actually, it's lots of little things. It's really easy to
Yeah.
break down. It is. Look around the field. I wouldn't use the publications that are in the field to give you prices.
Okay.
They are even assuming the best one in the world. Prices are a really difficult thing to get a grasp on. But it's buy low, it's sell high. You make a couple of rings here, a couple of rings there, and it starts to add up. So by the time you're trading, 20 gloaming, you're buying at 18, you're selling at 22. You're making half a throne a trade.
Yeah.
And then the other bit of advice I always gave is get into the Bourse game as quickly as you can. So I very deliberately, when I decided I wanted to be a trader, went, I want to be a sort of Bourse middleman.
Yeah.
A buy from the people who've got the seats, sell one or two to people who want to do their personal resource, not build a massive army, not do a fort, but you've got a military unit. For 2 Wains of Mithril, you can have a bigger military unit. Because that was the difficulty I saw. If you weren't in the game, in the Bourse game, it was really hard to get hold of these things.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I got 2 Wains of. I did it the good old Dornish night way. I won a tournament, and that's how I
how
got
we
my
get our stuff.
Mithril. No idea how I would have got it otherwise.
But once you're in the Bourse game, you're no longer trading for a ring or 2 rings profit on your Dragonbone or whatever it is. You're trading for a crown or 2 crowns profit on your Bourse Wains.
So is there's an actual like tier system then, because the Bourse seats are obviously they're things that give you. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not in this game. So the Bourse seats, they are something that someone holds, and it gives you a resource, right, once a
Yes.
year.
So a Bourse seat, the place, is a mine or a quarry or something that physically makes these materials. So,
Okay.
like the Great Mine at Briante is a Bourse seat. The Bourse seat, a title, is a title that you buy, and it means that for a year you own the production of that place. So I was the Bourse seat holder for Seren's Wisdom. Seren's Wisdom is an Ilium mine. That meant every season, I bought it for 4 seasons. Seren's Wisdom makes 10 Ilium, and I get that Ilium in my player pack. And I bought that 10 Ilium in advance. So that 40 Ilium in advance. So that's sort of the highest tier of the Bourse game, as it were. The proper seats. You then, slightly below that, you've got the things like the very small seats and the ministries, and to a certain degree the national seats as well.
Yeah.
They're much less expensive, but they still give you a direct supply. You're still picking them up in your player pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Below that, which is where sort of a Don was for a very long time, you've got what I call the middleman game, or the middle person game. I should probably say that people who buy Bourse seats have got hundreds and hundreds of thrones. I mean, I'm not going to go into the exact details of who's got how much, but you can look up on the wiki of how much they're spending on these Bourse seats. It is 500 thrones in some cases. They have better things to do with their time than to go out in the field and sell 22 individual bits of Mithril. And sometimes they're under contract. Sometimes, Dawn wants to build a new army. It's cheaper for them to just buy a Bourse seat than it is to buy the Mithril.
Okay. Yeah.
Because obviously
Okay.
then you're not paying the seat holder's profit margin, and you're not paying the middle person's profit margin. You're getting it straight at cost.
Yeah.
So again, my own finances as a Don, I bought my seat at 4 thrones per ring of Ilium, and I sold my Ilium at 4 and 2. Now, if I'd have had a middle person in that, if I didn't do my own middle personing, you'd probably have been paying 4 and 4 for it,
Yeah.
which actually is quite a lot more than that's a significant increase over the 4 thrones you get off the Bourse, because you've got all these people in the middle. And it again comes back to selling convenience. If you're hunting down a Bourse seat holder, the odds are they've already sold it.
Yeah.
They're either under contract for it, or some enterprising middle person like me has swept in at 8:30 on a Friday, and gone, well, actually, what stock have you got that you want sold?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think middle personing in the Bourse is a lot less popular than it used to be. back when I was my winter marker, back when I was my previous freeborn, you did see not a lot, but you saw a few people going around with, one or two wains in their pockets, trying to make a couple of crowns on them. Since doing it as a Don, I don't think you find it nearly as much.
What do you think it's down to? Larger player base, or?
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of it's a larger player base with the same amount of wains in the system.
Yeah.
Because we've built a few ministries, we've done a bit here and there, but it's not like, I think we've conquered one Mithril Mine in the time we've been in play. The Crawling Depths in Ossium.
Okay, yeah.
I think I might be wrong. Someone might go out and completely correct me there. So in the 10 years of play, the mithril supply from seats has increased by 12.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy in 10 years.
Yeah. And obviously you had some really weird economic effects. You go back to E1, Y1, and you could buy wains for 3 or 4 crowns. The seats went for a couple of thrones.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't the money in the system.
No.
When everyone turns up and they've got 1 throne, 1 crown, and 18 rings from their business, it's quite a large expense to buy a seat for 5 thrones.
Yeah.
You've got to have 5 mates.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But then, like you said, now you've got groups with hundreds and hundreds of thrones.
Thousands, but yeah,
Cool.
And you've got groups, in their back supply, you've got 1,000 of each material and 100 of each Bourse material. And like you look at that and go, literally, you could build a fort with that. You could build half an army with that. But they're right. One day, the Empire will absolutely be up a creek without a paddle.
Yeah.
If it doesn't lay its hands on 20 mithril.
Yeah.
We've authorized the building of this army. It is 2 o'clock on a Sunday, and we've got our maths wrong. We're 20 mithril short. That's what those supplies are for.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And not necessarily from profiteering. For some groups, it absolutely is. It's so they can go up and go, well, we've got 20 mithril. But there are other groups who are doing it genuinely for, these are LARPers. There's a certain level of incompetence that will inevitably strike.
Well, of course, yeah.
And they're, the group I'm thinking of, who obviously I'm not going to name, are really good beans of going, well, actually, here is what we paid for the mithril, and pay us a couple extra.
Yeah.
Because we are an empire, and we are, a lot of people do view us as one team. Different groups and then different nations have got perspectives on that. But there are a lot of people who are genuinely who for the empire is genuinely a thing that people do.
Yeah.
I remember before we had our first throne, the only way you got anything done in the field was getting people to listen to you when you went, we should do it for the good of the empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't work well.
That was the reaction that happened a lot, and I think that was one of the reasons why we got Lisbessa on the throne, because actually the empire needed a policy.
Yeah,
the empire needed some direction. The empire needed to be an empire.
Yeah.
As opposed to just 10 squabbling nation states.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, because it's taken so long as well for us to get another throne as well, that it's just like, well, at some point it stops becoming an empire if we don't have someone on the throne, these like it really isn't my wheelhouse, all these like currency and game currencies. But what interests me with like these game economics is that, I don't know if you agree or not, but you want them to be like a bit unstable, because that's where you get fun out of it, right? If it's a well-oiled machine of an economy, then it's not going to be as fun.
So I absolutely love the design of Empire's economy. So I've been sort of in or adjacent to the Bourse for the 2 big crashes, the Weirwood crash a couple of years ago and the White Granite crash last season.
Okay.
Those were caused by players. There's some people who accuse them of causing it deliberately. There's some people who say, well, actually, it just happened. But at the end of the day, there are 6 major Bourse consortium. There were 6 Bourse seats for sale. Anyone who doesn't expect those consortia to all put their heads together and go, well, hang on, we could just not bid each other up. We could just take one each. And like, if you don't do that, you're just making a donation to the Imperial Treasury. Because that's how it works. The way Senate gets its money, some of it comes from like regional taxation and things. But I don't know the exact numbers, but I think a majority of it comes from the proceeds of the Bourse auction. So when the Bourse auction goes really cheap, Senate has no money. So I remember the first time it happened in the Weirwood crash, the Senate actually had to look down its list of like fortresses and armies and go, right, which of these are we not funding this season? Because the Senate had a deficit.
Yeah.
And I think it scraped together enough money from private donations and things that it didn't have to actually start anything. But the Bourse caused that. And the only way to stop it is to have more players in the Bourse game.
Yeah.
Because this season there were only 4 Mithril seats. And again, 6 consortia and kind of Adon and his partner and a few of our friends. We're not really a consortia, we're just a load of people with money who fancy our odds. And this season, with so few seats and the same amount of interest, there was a record high. I think the Bourse auction made more money this season than it's ever made. And the Senate were overjoyed.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It was always people complain at Bourse holders because they went, oh, but Bourse materials are incredibly expensive. No one can afford 10 thrones to upgrade a military unit. And if we could, it's not worth it. And then you've got the other side of that, which is the pressure from Senate going, well, we want more money, we want more money, we want more money. But the way Senate gets more money is Bourse holders pay more for their wains. So you can't have both. You can either have a well-funded Senate or cheap wains. And I think a lot of people missed that, not knowing sort of depths of the game of going, well, that's why those two things are, you can't have both.
Yeah. So you got to you know, it's part of playing the game. You got to hit that balance, even on a smaller level, because it's supposed to represent an economy of an entire empire, but it's only like 2,000 people knocking about in a field, and I think it's really cool that even at a low level you can say the right things and do the right things to jack prices up on certain materials and things like that.
Absolutely.
It's quite impressive that you can do that as a single player.
Yeah, so I remember when there's a ministry that makes Mithril called the Overseer of the Gloaming Road, and it was essentially one of our foreign neighbours had a blight on their butterflies, so they couldn't make any iridescent gloaming. So they essentially went, what have we not got iridescent gloaming? What do we have? Mithril. Hey Empire, do you want to swap a load of iridescent gloaming for a load of Mithril? But that didn't hit the field. That wasn't in a Wind of Fortune. That was in like 2 lines in an ambassador's report.
Okay.
And overnight, gloaming went from about 13, 14 rings, I'd have to check my 50 squid, all the way up to a crown each. From this one guy going, hang on, the Farad'n have offered to swap gloaming for Mithril. And just that, well, it wasn't literally what it was, they put a small team together, and I'm sure they made out very richly off of the start of the Gloaming Road.
Yeah, I think that's so cool, though.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of things that could have been done there.
Yeah.
If players had, talked to a Farad'n NPC, I'm sure all of the Farad'n NPCs from that event would have had the briefing. Well, actually, we've got a blight on our butterflies.
Yeah.
And players could have then started to piece that together and go, hang on, does that mean gloaming's worth more to you? But so it's a lot more formal these days. It's in a ministry. It's got like a set rate of return.
Okay.
You can these days go on the wiki and look up what the Gloaming Road does. As I recall, it's these days fairly awful because gloaming's quite expensive, and the Mithril's not great. You don't get a lot of it. But I think that's the thing. If you can be individuals and make a difference, but as the economic game's getting so big, that's becoming harder and harder. And I think it is also becoming harder to break into.
Yeah. So segueing into that, I do it. So one question that I know a lot of new players, you did touch on it earlier, a lot of new players ask is, how do I know the price of things? One, because they're like, either they want to trade and they like, I don't know how much to charge, or they basically come into the game. They want to make sure they're not getting ripped off. What's your advice for like finding the right price for certain resources?
So, the easiest thing you can do is ask people. So there are publications that are out there. I at the level I was trading at had a good enough pulse on Anvil to go, well, actually, I can form my own opinions on these. I don't need to pay a ring for it.
Okay.
If you're very new and you're just starting, that's I think the time they're useful. There's a very famous one in the Blast Coast. The Marchers have got one now. There's one published up in the League. And again, if you really want to, buy two.
Yeah.
Or, you buy one, your mate buys one, take notes.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking to do trading and really get into the game, then you need to be looking at don't take your first offer. If you find 6 people trying to sell you green iron at a crown, and you find one person trying to sell you green iron at 18, that's probably a good idea that people are managing to move it at a crown because they're still trying.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to sell something at a price and it's not moving, the price goes down.
Yeah.
But once you know what it's being sold for, you figure out what your time's worth. That actually, if you're happy to take a ring per ingot, it's very easy to buy things at 19 and sell them at a crown. If that's what the market's doing.
Yeah.
A one ring variation is really small. Mana's also a really popular one because people tend to want bulk mana, but people also tend to have bulk mana for sale. Yeah.
Give us a mana. We've got a ritual to do like 10 minutes.
I've only done it once. I think it was my second event, selling mana at the Regio at 5 minutes to time out on Sunday. My record is I have sold a mana crystal for 4 crowns.
Yeah, I probably would have paid that at one point last event.
Yeah.
And it was literally a group stood in the middle of the Regio, who the ref had just come out of the little hut and gone, "You're one short."
Oh. Convenience, right place, like you say, convenience.
Yeah, absolutely. And they literally just went to their group. Has anyone got a mana crystal? It's like 6 of them, and everyone went, "No." And and I went up and went, "Well, I've got a mana crystal." Don't get me wrong. That's one of those things that I talk about how it used to be. That market barely exists anymore.
Yeah.
You've got 3 or 4 sellers of mana at the Regio on a Sunday now.
Yeah.
Because it's a trick everyone knows.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like a bit like the real world of that. Like, if you're going out and you're getting advice from something, the person giving you that advice, it's clearly not good enough advice for them to be following it.
Yeah.
So I can sort of do a bit as I'm leaving the game. But find what people are offering.
Yeah.
Go in. I'm not saying pose as a buyer, but find 2 or 3 sellers and go, how much are you selling for? And equally ask them and go, are you selling at that price? And some of them might be gits, but most of them are reasonable people. They'll tell you they like role playing, they like engaging with people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's their game.
Have a chat with them about them. Talk to merchants. Don't believe a get rich quick scheme. I think is the much like real life, the only way to get to it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, there's a little competition they do in Dawn, and I don't know if they do it like every year, but it's for the seneschals, the new seneschals in Dawn. And the competition that they were given last time is they were each given 1 crown. They were all like new players and new seneschals. They were each given a crown and told, go grow it basically, and come back, and like the person who is like increased it the most is win, sort of thing. And the amount that they were bringing back was starting with literally a crown and nothing else, and they were new players, and I'm like, it's pretty incredible. And like you said, like talking to people and doing that role play and everything, you can do pretty well with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I obviously had a very similar thing. My first event, I made a lot of money very quickly.
Yeah.
And I did that by putting in the boot leather and by going, well, actually, my time is worth a ring. I will make 1 ring profits. That's fine. And and if it's not selling and I'm struggling, I'll break even and move on to the next thing. You've got to keep that. You've got to keep dynamic. You've got to keep moving, and that's the way you do it. But as you say, there are some players, not me, obviously, who do a very similar thing and make a lot of money. I
Yeah.
regularly get surprised, by people who are, just very keen to start their new character. Have written out, want to talk to established merchants, and you sort of read that letter and go, well, obviously, wish you all the best, but keen changes between the start of event and end of event, and the number of people who have come in with law 3 and ended up with weapon master cleave or something.
Yeah.
People hit the field and they find out what it's like and it's different.
Yeah.
But you do get players who come in and go, I want to be a trader, and then you go, well, actually, see how you do, see if you like it.
Yeah.
And then they make a bloody fortune.
Yeah.
I've got a friend in the league who's done exactly that. On their first event, we just got chatting in Moorish,
Mhm.
and I trying not to be that guy, but I was sort of counting my coins in Moorish and go, okay, how much have I made this afternoon?
You
I'm
gotta
about to
be
go
that
to
guy.
the auction. You don't apparently, but no, and it was in early days, and I think that was the first time they'd ever seen a 20 thrown coin. And they had just stopped, like in the middle of their meal, and gone, I'm terribly sorry, but is that real? That they make 20s?
Oh.
And now that player is, a quite serious political player in league economics. They've got an entire, not a group like a group of LARPers, but a group of characters who all are, sort of small to medium-sized businesses who actually have gone, well, actually in the league, there's a bit of a culture of if you're not huge, you're nobody. So actually we're banding together and we're sort of throwing our weight around that. And he's put that together from scratch. And
Yeah.
when I first met him, I'll be honest, my bet would have been, doesn't make much of it. And I'm very glad to be proved wrong on that one. I really am.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When we kind of first started and everything, I had a green iron mine. And I was like, I don't know what part of the game I'm going to like. I've never done this before. I have green iron. I guess I can maybe trade that. And I thought, this is cool. I can trade it until I really quickly was like, I'm trading this for coins so I can buy beer.
Yes,
I kind of want the coin, but I don't want to do the legwork. So.
And you could have just had a business or a farm and got the coin.
Exactly. That's why I changed it, because I was like, this is just not really for me doing this sort of part. But then since then I now have kids and Dawn who sell stuff for me, and they just make me coin on the weekend.
Yeah.
They have a brilliant game because they manage to get a lot.
It's the noble way to do it.
It's the noble way. Your child, go sell that for me, thanks.
Yeah, I think I can imagine. Well, I mean, you already I think you alluded to it before we started recording. But I think one of the keys, like you say, convenience, and what your time's worth. But I imagine successful trading is done through a lot of walking or traversing the field. Is that right?
So it didn't used to be. I think Adon's a bit of an exception, and one of the reasons he's got sort of as big and as famous as he is because he's very visible. Like Adon was never the biggest Bourse trader. Adon's seat was, I think, 160 thrones. Don't get me wrong, a lot of money, and I was very nervous counting that out at the auction, going, let's not drop anything. But I think an awful lot of that end of the trading game is actually fairly sedentary and fairly anonymous. Because if you're a senator who is building an army, you can look up a list of people who own a Mithril mine. You're not wandering the field as a senator going, I really need to get the Hounds of Glory built. Can anyone sell me Mithril? No, you're going to people who get 30 Mithril a season.
Yeah.
And you're going, you in your player pack yesterday got 30 Mithril. I'm building an army. Can we do a deal?
Yeah.
Whereas I sort of had the opposite of that. I was still buying from those people, but on a very different pitch of, well, I'm not building an army. I'm going to make a couple of crowns on it. So I think if you're trading for the money, then I think, yes, you can be very visible. You can put a lot of legwork in. My boots last about 2 empires as a Don.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I do about 50 miles of walking.
Yeah, but that's where that's really where your character's fame came from. That's the thing. You can have, you like you say, you can be rich and anonymous, but your character's fame came from you walking around the field shouting Mithril there, right?
Yeah, being
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
visible and so loud as well in the field.
Yeah, he used to be quite a polarizing character. There used to be an awful lot of people, and probably still are, that really didn't like the Mithril Man.
Well,
Um,
you wouldn't know now. You wouldn't know
well,
who's
but no,
polarizing.
they found him quite disruptive.
Mhm.
They'd be in a meeting and having an important bit, high emotion role play, and just from the back of the tent, Mithril. Um, Yeah, but I think he's grown on Anvil, and I think part of that is me taking a step back and being a little more sensitive with it,
Mhm.
and I think quite a lot more of that was actually just people, enough people have bought from him by this point.
Well, I imagine then you like, because you became like the ice cream van of of Empire, because like when you're used to ice cream vans, you're not like what is this ice cream? You're just like,
Yeah,
oh, ice cream van. And so a lot of the time you don't go and get an ice cream, but if you
yeah. If
needed
you
an
don't
ice
you don't
cream,
begrudge the ice cream van, it's
you become,
yeah. I think that's almost certainly part of it.
yeah.
And there was also a lot of people who started, going. When a Don started, go, I'll never be able to afford Mithril. You're just wasting my time. That's just noise pollution. And then actually, they've sat around for 4 events on a business and not done anything and gone, hang on, I can afford a Mithril.
Where's the
Where'd that Mithril guy
find the
go?
Mithril Man?
Yeah.
And
But I mean,
being,
and that was always the thing.
Hmm.
I wasn't ever selling to big commissions.
Hmm.
I occasionally did, but like most of my sales were, oh, well, there was an opportunity that I can upgrade my business for one less Wayne this season. All of a sudden, it becomes slightly less economically terrible.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
that's the
Yeah.
thing. Upgrades are certainly business and farm upgrades are almost never worth it. There's a few really niche cases, but I don't see them. But congregations are kind of worth it because they give you
Really?
votes. They give you votes as a priest. You can't just
Oh.
buy those. If I upgrade my green iron mine, I have just spent 10 thrones on getting 2 more green iron in an event. Whereas I could have just spent 10 thrones on quite a lot of green iron.
Yeah.
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 But the things are either your national resource for you want more votes for your national Bourse voting things.
Yeah.
That's very niche. Military units and fleets for I want to contribute more to the military game. Or congregations for I'm a priest and I want more votes. I want to be a more authoritative priest.
I didn't even think about that. I gotta admit, I didn't
Yeah.
I'm doing priesty things with my new character, but not. I didn't. I chose a military unit again,
Yeah.
because I quite like that part of the game. But yeah, I didn't even actually think about
Yeah.
having the upgraded. Yeah, affecting that. That's
Yeah, so one of the bits of trivia I really like about the Synod game is if you've got 4 people and you want to form a Synod faction, it's actually better to have 3 congregations and a mana site, so one of you can just cast the enchantment on congregations. You get more votes that way.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, of course, yeah. You can just do the enchantments on it, yeah.
yeah,
Because I was just about to say that because when you said about like the military thing, I was like, yeah, because a lot of times, if you want to upgrade your military, you're probably better off just putting an enchantment on it every, every
yeah.
you know.
But the thing is, with a military unit, you can enchant it and upgrade it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
People
not one or
like
the other.
yeah.
So there's like a lot of people who go out. There's quite a lot of culture, particularly the Brass Coast, of I want the biggest fleet.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, there are people out there who it's cheaper to get the permanent ritual to give them 6 ranks on their fleet than it is to upgrade it another 6 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just spend 60, 70 ilium or whatever it is, as opposed to spending that much weirwood.
Yeah, yeah. That's quite cool that you can discover this type of thing in game, because I got to admit, like, this one of the things that I discovered with the experience points, because sometimes you look at that experience points, you gain experience pretty slowly
Yeah.
in this game, and you're like, oh, I could do that, and then I've got that, but I really would like to do that, and then now we've been playing the game for quite a while. When I made this character, I'm like, oh no, I'm just gonna put in hero points and everything else. So if I want anything, I'm just gonna have magical armor, magical weapons,
Yes.
enchantments when I need it. You know, now I know how it works. You're like, I'm not gonna waste
Yeah.
experience points on that. I can do it another way, and that's cool.
Oh,
You can
yeah, I
discover
wasted so many experience points on my last character, just with like, and now obviously you just said, like, there's so many magical, like, armor and weapons and enchantments
Yeah.
and things that people could do onto my character. I'm like, I could just save the experience.
Yeah. So I'm going back to a fighty character for the first time since my last freeborn, and I fight a lot of other LARPs, and sort of Empire has always been a bit, well, I could if it fits the character, but I'm sort of going through the build, and obviously I've got thankfully I've got a really good group behind me who are going, hey, we've got a bit of money, we'll sort you out for some items and things, and I'm actually looking and going, well, I'm almost getting more from items and rituals than I am from XP.
Yeah, as long as you have the abilities to say if you want like a a great weapon, and you want to do all this crazy stuff with it, you just need to buy the mastery, and then you're like, oh, I can just buff myself all around that weapon. Then you only need to spend a couple of points, and that's it.
Yeah, so I've got quite a lot of XP saved from sort of previous years and previous characters. So I'm going back to being a battle mage. I'm firmly in the camp of 8 XP battle mages are really naff. Because you've got to particularly if you want to be a battle mage with a shield, which I think is significantly the best battle mage. That's magician for 2, battle mage for 2, shield for 2.
Yeah.
And then you still can't even cast an offensive spell.
I was just about to say, yeah, it's a tricky build, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thankfully going in with quite a lot more XP than that. So I've got extra mana and I've got a couple of spells and then things like that.
Yeah.
So but I wouldn't, I would say I dread to think what battle mages look like E1Y1, but there's been so many changes since then. It's a completely different beast. Like when you used to cast an offensive spell, you were affected as well.
Wait, what?
So original battle mages rule, you had sympathetic magic. If I paralyze you, I am also paralyzed.
What?
You're
Rubbish.
You're gonna make sure you have a lot of friends around you.
Yeah. And I'm going to point out, you still couldn't wear any armor.
That sucks.
It was battle mages got a fairly heavy rewrite after about the first year.
I'm not surprised.
After everyone was just going, these are awful.
Yeah.
And no one played them.
How
Like,
frustrating would it be? Just repel and just have to go running away from each other.
So that was actually quite a good use case.
Because you're getting away, you're further away from them.
Exactly, because the point of repel is you want something as far away from you as possible.
Yeah.
So generally, repel was my, oh no, I'm losing this fight button. I'm going back to the healers, you're going away.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. You mentioned because we're almost at time, but I do want to ask you about because you mentioned other LARPs you do. I do want to ask you what because obviously you've been playing Empire for a long time. When did you like start LARPing? And
Empire was my first.
Empire was first.
Sorry, my university let's have a fool around with some Nerf guns in one of the teaching blocks was my first.
Yeah.
My first proper LARP was
LARP.
Empire.
Yeah.
Other LARPs I do Fools and Heroes, which is a branch-based linear system.
Okay.
So it's not a fest. You're not there for a weekend. You're a group of adventurers hired for a mission. There's 2 missions in a day. You play one and monster the other. It's on a sort of it's 20 quid a year for as many as you want to do.
Really?
It's really grassroots.
That's
Really grassroots, really cheap.
Yeah.
So we're not paying for crew, we're not paying for site. It's all on public land. It's very much a society of volunteers. It's run democratically. It's got a lot going for it.
Yeah, I quite like the idea of doing something like that because we've only ever done Empire, and that's one thing you do miss out of Empire. I know there's skirmishes and things like that, but you miss that kind of like D&D party, like
exactly
where the protagonist type thing,
But yeah, similarly on linears, I do Labyrinth, which is down in Chislehurst Caves, which is an old chalk mine. If you've never LARPed in Chislehurst Caves, absolutely do. It's a wonderful venue.
So you're in like actual caves then?
Actual caves.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They were like Saxon tunnels in like the 8th century or something, and they were a bit of chalk mine, a fungus farm. They were a munition store during the war for anti-air guns. There's a lot of heritage down there, and it's now a LARP site.
And now it's a
And
LARP site.
yeah, it's a really complicated system. If you haven't got a head for maths, be careful. But it's a system I absolutely love. I write for The Zone LARP while we're plugging things, which is
Ooh.
a
You go for it.
laser tag based LARP outside Manchester.
Okay.
The sort of premise is there's a nuclear storage facility has allegedly blown up, and you are all playing mercenaries looting the exclusion zone. And there's a lot of like conspiracy theory, a lot of sort of sci-fi science going on. That's really good. Humanity Ascendant's another one I want to give a shout out for, which is you've just come out of the bunkers after nuclear war and society's carried on without you.
That sounds like a really cool concept.
It is, and it's so I play. I haven't actually been in a while because of real life, but I've got a diplomat I play essentially for because obviously we're British in the bunkers. We kept a civil service. So I'm coming up and like talking to all these tribes of people that have regressed to using 20th century weapons. But that's also really fun. I think those are the main. Yeah, I think those are the main ones I do.
Going back to the one that you write
Sorry,
for. When is that on? When do you run that?
I should have a better answer for that.
We'll put all the information down.
We'll put everything in so people can go check it out and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's running in the school holidays because the guy, the head ref, is a school teacher, so it's normally right at the end of the school holidays to give us some time to prep. But that's that's absolutely a passion project.
Yeah, fantastic.
Not enough LARPs during the school holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know before we were recording as well, we were talking about Empire and how it used to be like 4 days and things like that. There is some part of me that's like, I kind of wish it was still on those like bank holiday weekends sometimes, because it can be a little bit rough, kind of like for. I mean, not for me, but more so for Robin, because you have to go.
Yeah, I work in a high school, so I'm like a supervisor for the detention stuff in the high school. And this week, coming back to work after. It was cool because I was playing a bit of a darker character, so I kind of just didn't really break character for the week.
Yeah.
But I could have really done with a bank holiday.
Yeah, so I did a 4-day for sort of Labyrinth. We went out of the caves and rented a scout site, and even playing a character not wearing armor, just playing a sort of mind wizard. Just at the end of it, you're still going. You're catching your breath, and it was. I was stuck in that character's accent for a good week.
Yeah. Did you ever have? I mean, I was surprised how easily I slipped into my new character at Empire. Do you ever? Because you've been playing the Mithril Man for quite a while, so I mean, did you get any like anxious, like, oh yeah, is it going to be difficult going into the new one? Because we got the Long Dark now, so
yeah. So I think. So Adon was 9 events, which is for some people that's an extremely long character. For me, that's about normal, to be honest. I mean, but it's about the same length as my previous Freeborn, much shorter than my Winter Marker. I'm looking forward to my next one. You've obviously got to deal with the emotions. I'm still not over Adon, and I probably won't be until about 6 o'clock Friday of E1.
Yeah.
But you move forward. I've been kitting for the last couple of days. My first parcel of kit arrived about an hour before we started recording,
nice.
So I'm starting to get a little bit excited.
Yeah, I know we found it quite therapeutic, kind of like because you're like, oh no, I don't, I really miss him and it's gutting, and I don't know what I'm going to do next. But most of the people we speak to lost characters that are missing them. They usually jump straight into like looking at kit, because it's therapeutic. I know on the drive home when we like at E3 we were like, oh, we have no people ask, oh, what are you gonna do next? We are like, we're not even gonna think about that. And as soon as we got in the car, we were like, okay, maybe we should do this. And some of it we didn't
I'm thinking this, you're thinking that.
But it made us feel better.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely it. I think if you try and force it before it comes to you, then actually you're just slogging through it and you're just going to feel like it's a chore.
Yeah.
But actually, once the hype hits,
Mhm.
once it's there, just run into it and you'll not go far wrong, I think.
Yeah. I mean, like, for me personally, I knew what I didn't want to do. And like so many people were coming up being like, why don't you try like a throwaway character, another nation for event, try this. And I was like, that is the last thing I wanted to do. Like all I knew for definite is I didn't want a throwaway character because, I mean, out of character, it costs money to get kit and to come to an event and to book time off work. So I didn't want just a throwaway character. And I thought, well, like you were saying about E4, you've got the long dark. I'm glad we were at E3 because it allowed us to test out a character concept before the long dark hit. And yeah, it must be much tougher for you having that long dark to kind of wait for E1.
But it does mean I've got a whole long dark to get hit together.
It does. It does. I was very much like chucking things together.
Yeah, it was
I was like calling up Wormwick, being like, "Will it be here in time?"
I just because it was that way. I was like, well, I don't want to. Yeah, like it's E3, definitely going to E4. Got to have a new concept, and also the time frame was actually shorter. Like it was there's only like 5 weeks between E3 and E4, and because we were like. Well, we were really freaking torn up about our character death as well. Like we were so freaking depressed. Like the week after, that we're just like, look, we just want to break. We just want that, and then you have a break, and then you're like, crap, okay, let's think about character concepts. And then before you know it, you're like, crap, I've got like 2 weeks before E4, I haven't got anything together. So.
Yeah, so I think touching on what you mentioned earlier, Robin, about knowing what you don't want to do, I think sometimes that is so much easier.
Yeah.
Like I put out obviously a post after Don had gone and go, hey everyone, thanks for all the good times. I'm looking at a new group. Anyone want to pitch me something? And I went down. I want to play one of these nations, and I'm looking to play one of these concepts. And I had obviously not gonna just sort of name and shame here, but I had at least 3 groups go, hey, do you want to play a trader in our group? And I'm like, no.
No, not really.
No way. I've already done that.
Don't get me wrong. I've done that one. I've proved I can do it. I am more than happy never seeing real money again.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 18 rings to drink with and some mana to cast a spell, and I'm golden.
Yeah.
But in fairness, so many groups were sort of the complete opposite end of that, and just go, hey, really sorry to hear about Adon. We've read through your post. We've seen what you've looked for. Here's who we are. Let us know if you think this will jive with you. And I've had 3 or 4 groups, quite a lot from Dawn, in fact, who've actually been really, really open and go, whatever you want to play, if it's going to gel with our group concept, have a chat and let's do it. So I think that's another way that the community's really come out and actually made losing Adon, made losing the Mithril Man so much easier for me.
Yeah, we had. I mean, we were lucky enough to have a bit of that too, Robin. Like when our characters died, we had a few people kind of reaching out and like, look, there's a seat at our table if you don't know where to go, and there was never any like, oh yeah, come and do exactly what you were doing before, because you do get, I mean, you get, this happens in real life as well, like you get pigeonholed, people go,
absolutely,
oh, you're good at this, therefore, when you're like, oh yeah, I want to change my career, people go, oh yeah, well, why don't you try this, and they'll say something that is pretty much identical to what you're already doing. You're just like, no, I want to try something different,
It really
I'm vaguely making my way sort of around the big games, as it were. Because I've done a big Impact Synod Priest. I've done a big Impact Conclave. I've just finished an economic. So I'm running out of options. It's military council.
Military council, then, yes. Sounds like or
join us in military
council. Yeah, Senate or military council. Yeah. Oh no, there's plenty. It's plenty.
Tiny things. You could be the next Empire.
Oh, yeah.
That's a game. Oof.
Yeah, I've obviously I've never pushed for. I think the exemplar game should be your mates push for something for you. I've never quite felt comfortable. I know obviously people do it, and I don't begrudge them it. But I've never felt I could be in the position of going, well, I'm an exemplar. If people want to do that, and I know a lot of people, there've been a lot of jokey posts around that have been, quite heavily moderated of, we should make the Mithril Man, and I'm just going, if that's what you want to do, fine, but do it in a field.
Yeah.
In a field, don't throw it out on Facebook, because one, if it does happen, everyone's just going to turn around and go, well, exemplar by Facebook.
Yeah.
And B, there's so much more game to it doing it in the field. Like, I've played the Synod game. I've stood opposite a room and had people try and convince me their mate's an exemplar. And actually, it's really good for you because you get to live those memories of your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And then your friend's virtue, even though they're not there, and that person is still making game. And it's just far more engaging doing it in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're like talking about like the rumor mill and everything at Empire as well. And because obviously this is at the start of the event we're talking about this time, we're like, you say one thing to somebody, before you know it, it's completely blown up and it's gone somewhere else by the end of it. Now, the new Empress was announced at around about the time that people were talking about the Mithril Man dying. And I'm just waiting for E1 to come to see if that rumor has grown into the Mithril Man's the new Empire. Did you hear?
No, I don't have one. I'm hoping sort of for comic effect confused person that heard the Mithril Man's been murdered by a Varushkan. The new Empress is a Varushkan. The Empress murdered the Mithril Man.
Yes. That's the type of rumor mills. I'm actually waiting for I'm waiting for his funeral to be bigger than the coronation. That'll be the next that'll be the next thing.
I very deliberately asked my partner to keep me out of the arrangements for the funeral.
Yeah.
Like, it's if you want to whisper me, give me a time and I'll try and be at the Regio if the character's free.
Yeah.
But I understand plans exist. I know very little about them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way to do it. Like, I don't
so.
want to keep living through Adon's. I want to start making a new game.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird for us. No, it wasn't weird. It was awesome, but also it's a strange experience again because you don't like in real life you don't get to hear people talking about you like that. We're different from that point of view, and like we're playing new characters. We are playing with the same group of friends, but there are like songs being performed about our old characters, and there are plans for whispers and things like that. And it's weird because obviously you just got to sit back and just be like, well, just let everyone get on with it. If you want to organize it, they can organize it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Right, we're at time, folks. That absolutely flew by.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to plug? We'll put all the information for your LARPs that you write for and whatnot, and all the ones you mentioned as well.
Yeah.
Down in the comments. But is there anything else you want to
No,
plug or say to the wider Empire community before you?
Just the obvious. Adon's been a great run, and I'm looking forward to being in the field with you all for the next one.
Yeah. I'm gonna miss the calls of Mithril, White Granite.
I'm expecting some copycats. I wouldn't worry.
That was another thing. When everybody was standing around for the trial, some people were just walking back and forward shouting Mithril in your memory. There was a point when we were walking the nations, we're like, we need to get the word out. How do we get the word out? And we're like, we need the Mithril Man to get the word out. That's something that's happened. Like, every nation, as soon as the words, the Mithril Man is dead, it was just everyone, like you touched every nation. It was absolutely incredible.
I mean, I think that's another thing. As you say, at its core, the gameplay loop of the Mithril Man was I had some money, I had some stuff, I was walking around. And that's how I made the money. Anyone can do that.
Yeah.
Anyone who gets a throne in their pack at the start of an event can go around shouting, Dragon Bone, anyone want to buy some Dragon Bone?
Yeah.
So Adon was inspired by a much older character who went around the field just going, artisans, materials, buy, sell, or trade, in a sing-song voice. And I've no idea who the player of that character was, but I stood there as my winter marker and went, if I ever play a trader, I'm doing that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
And a year later, after I started Adon, I learned that he died by being stabbed in a tent. So, singing trader is apparently a dangerous line of work.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, hopefully more people will be inspired by your story, but maybe not. I'm sure there will. But yeah, you absolutely. Thing is, if there shouldn't really be a right way or wrong way to play the game, but I think if there was, I think you definitely did it. I think you definitely did it the right way because leaving that much of an impression on a group of people and on the game is pretty impressive.
And from the sounds of it, with all your characters, so I'm quite interested to see what happens with your next one.
Yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah, so my mate who mentioned that they keep on going out of the band. They also keep mentioning they keep getting bigger. So who knows where the future holds.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see it. Well, we appreciate it, Anthony. Thank you very much for coming on. We'll wave goodbye to the podcast and all the listeners. See you later, folks. Bye. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you follow, make sure you subscribe so you know when a new episode is posted. We will put all the links in the video and the episode description for the LARPs mentioned by Anthony, and also the song by our friend Sue as well down there. Make sure that you go and check out some of our other content we have done surrounding Empire LARP and LARPing in general, some of our guest episodes. Until the next time, though, we love you and stay safe.